The Complete Works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 5, Section 1, Part 2. Despair not. Remember, the Lord says in Gita, to work you have the right, but not the result. Gird up your loins, my boy. I am called by the Lord for this. I have been dragged through the whole life, full of crosses and tortures. I have seen the nearest and dearest death, almost of starvation. I have been ridiculed, distrusted, and have suffered for my sympathy for the very men who scoff and scorn. Well, my boy, this is the school of misery. This is also the school for a great soul and prophets of cultivation of sympathy, of patience, and above all, of an indomitable iron will which quakes not even if the universe be pulverized at your feet, at our feet. I pity, I pity them. It is not their fault. They are children, yeah, veritable children. Though they be great and high in society, their eyes see nothing beyond their little horizon of few yards. The route, walk, the routine, work, eating, and drinking, and earning, and begetting, following each other in mathematical precision. They know nothing beyond happy little souls. Their sleep is never disturbed. Their nice little brown studies of lives never ruled. Shocked by the wells of views, of misery, of degradation, and poverty that has filled the Indian atmosphere, the result of centuries of oppressions, they little dream of the ages of tyranny and moral and physical, that has reduced the image of God to the mere beast of burden, the amble of the divine mother to a slave to bear children, and life itself a curse. But there are others who see, feel, and shed tears of blood in their hearts, who think that there is a remedy for it, and who are ready to apply this remedy at any cost, even to the giving up of life. And of such is the kingdom of heaven. It is not then natural, my friend, that they have no time to look down from the heights of vagaries of contemptible, this contemptible little insects, ready every moment to spit their little venom. Trust not to the so-called rich; they are more dead than alive. The hope lies in you, in the meek, the lowly, but the faithful. Have faith in the Lord. No policy, it is nothing. Feel for the miserable and look up for help. I shall come. It shall come. I have traveled 12 years with this load in my heart and this idea in my mind. I have gone from door to door and of the so called rich and great. With a bleeding heart, I have crossed half the world to this strange land seeking for help. The Lord is great. I know He will help me. I may perish of cold or hunger in this land, but the bequeath to you, young man, this sympathy, this struggle for poor, the ignorant, the oppressed. Go now, this minute, to the temple of Parthasari, Sarathi, Parthasarathi. Go now this minute to the temple of Parthasarathi, and before him, who was friend to the poor and lowly cowherds of Gokul, who never shrank to the embrace the Paraha Guhala, who accepted the invitation of a prostitute in preference to that of nobles and saved her in his incarnation as Buddha. Yeah, down on your face before him and make a great sacrifice, the sacrifice of the whole life for that, for them, for whom he comes from time to time, whom he loves above all, the poor, the lowly, and the oppressed. Wow. Then to devote your whole lives to the cause of redemption of these 300 millions going down and down every day. It is not the work of the day, and the path is full of the most deadly thorns. But Parthasarthi is ready to be our Sarthi. We know that. And in his name, and with eternal faith in him, set fire to the mountain of misery that has been heaped upon India for ages, and it shall be burned down. Come then, look it in the face, brethren. It is a grand task, and we are so low, but we are the sons of light and children of God. Glory unto the Lord. We will succeed. Hundreds will fall in struggle, hundreds will be ready to take it up. I may die here unsuccessful, another will take up the task. You know the disease, you know the remedy. Only have faith. Do not look up to the so called rich and the great. Do not care for the heartless intellectual writers and their cold blooded newspaper articles. Faith, sympathy, fairy faith, and fairy sympathy. Life is nothing, death is nothing, hunger is nothing, cold is nothing. Glory unto the Lord, march on. The Lord is our general. Do not look back to see who falls forward onward. Thus and thus we shall go on, brethren. One falls and another takes up the work. From this village I am going to Boston today. I am going to speak at a big ladies club here, which is helping Ramabai. I must first go and buy some clothings in Boston. If I am to live longer here, my quaint dress will not do. People gather my hundreds in the street to see me. So, what I want is to dress myself in a long black coat and keep a red robe and turban to wear when I lecture. This is what the ladies advised me to do. They are the rulers here, and I must have their sympathy. Before you get this letter, my money would come down to somewhat about 70 or 60. Do try your best to send some money. It is necessary to remain here for some time to have any influence here. I could not see the phonography for Mr. Bhattacharya as I got his letter here. If I go to Chicago again, I will look for them. I do not know whether I shall go back to Chicago or not. My friends there write me to represent India, and the gentleman to whom Varada Rao introduced me is one of the director of the fair. But then I refuse, as I would have to spend all my little stock of money in remaining more than a month in Chicago. In America, there are no classes in railway except in Canada. So I have to travel first class, as that is the only class. But I do not venture the Pullmans. They are very comfortable. You sleep, eat, drink, even bath in them. Just if just as if you are in hotel, but they are too expensive. It is very hard work getting into society and making yourself heard. Now nobody is in the towns. They are all away in summer places. They will come back in winter. Therefore I must wait. After such a struggle, I am not going to give up easily. Only try your best to help me as much as you can, and even if you cannot, I must try to the end. And even if I die of cold and disease or hunger here, you take up the task. Holiness, sincerity, and faith. I have left instructions with cooks to forward my letter or money to me wherever I am. Rome was not built in a day. If you can keep me here for 6 months at least, I hope everything will come right. In the meantime, I am trying my best to find my any plank I can float upon. And if I find out any means to support myself, I shall wire to you immediately. First, I will try in America, and if I fail, try in England, and if I fail, go back to India and wait for further commands from high. Ramadas's father has gone to England. He is in a hurry to go home. He is very good man at heart. Only the roughness on the surface. It would take more than 20 days for the letter to reach. Even now, it is so cold in New England that every day we have fires, nights and mornings. Canada is still colder. I never saw snow on such low hills as there. Gradually, I can make my way, but that means a longer residence in this horrible, expensive country. Just now, the raising of the rupees in India has created a panic in this country, and lots of meals have been stopped. So I cannot hope for anything just now, but I must wait. Just now I have been to the tailor and ordered some of winter clothes, and that would worth rupees 300 and up. And still it would not be good clothes, only decent. Ladies here are very peculiar about men's dress, and they are the power in this country. They never fail the missionaries. They are helping our Ramabai every year. If you fail in keeping me here, send some money to get me out of the country. In the meantime, if anything turns out in my favor, I will write or wire. A word cost rupees 4 in cable. Yours, Vivekanand. Chicago, 2nd November 1893. Dear Ella Singha, Dear Ella Singha, I am so sorry that a moment weakness on my part should cause you so much trouble. I was out of pocket at that time. Since then, the Lord sent me friends. At the village near Boston, I made the acquaintance of Dr. Wright, professor of Greek in the Harvard University. He sympathized with me very much and urged upon me the necessity of going to Parliament of Religion, which he thought would give me an introduction to the nation. As I was not acquainted with anybody, the professor undertook to arrange everything for me, and eventually I came back to Chicago. Here I, together with the Oriental and the Occidental delegates of the Parliament of Religion, were all lodged in the house of the gentleman. On the morning of the opening of the Parliament, we all assembled in the building called the Art Place, where one huge and other small temporary halls were erected for the sitting of the Parliament. Men from all nations were there. From India were Mazumdar of the Brahmo Samaj and Nagarkar of Bombay. Mr. Gandhi represented the Jain and Mr. Chakravarti represented the Theosophy, with Mrs. Annie Bestan. Of these, Mazumdar and I were, of course, old friends, and Chakravarti knew me by name. There was grand procession, and we were all marshalled on to the platform. Imagine a hall below and a huge gallery above, packed with 6 to 7,000 men and women representing the best culture of the country, and on the platform, learned men of all the nations of earth. And I, who never spoke in public in my life, to address this august assembly It was opened in great form with music and ceremony and speeches, and then the delegates were introduced one by one, and they stepped up and spoke. Of course, my heart was fluttering, and my tongue never dried up. I was so nervous and could not venture to speak in the morning. Manzumdar made a nice speech, Chakravarti a nice one, and there were much applaud, applauded. They were all prepared and came with a ready-made speeches. I was a fool and had none, but borrowed down to Devi Saraswati and stepped up. And Dr. Barrow introduced me. I made a short speech. I addressed to the assembly as Sisters and Brothers of America. A defending applause of 2 minutes followed, and then I proceeded. And when it was finished, I sat down, almost exhausted with emotion. The next day, all the papers announced that my speech was the hit of the day, and I became known to the whole of America. Truly has it been said by the great commentator Sridhara, Mukam Karoti Vachalam, Mukam Karoti Vachalam, who makes the thumb dumb, a fluent speaker, who makes the dumb a fluent speaker. His name be praised. From that day, I became the celebrity, and the day I read my name, my paper of Hinduism, the hall was packed as it had never been before. I quoted to you from one of the paper, ladies, 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 packing every place, filling every corner. They patiently waited and waited while the papers that separated them from Vivekananda were read, etc. You would be astonished if I sent you the newspaper cuttings. But you already know that I am a hater of celebrity. Sufficient it to say that whenever I went on the platform, a defining applause would be raised for me. Nearly all the papers paid high tributes to me, and even the most bigoted had to admit that this man, with his handsome face and magnetic presence and wonderful oratory, is the most prominent figure of the parliament, and etc. etc. Sufficient for you to know that never before did an Oriental make such an impression on American soil. And how to speak of their kindness? I have no more wants now. I am well off, and all the money that I require to visit Europe I shall get from here. A boy called Narasimhacharya has cropped up in our midst. He has been loafing about the city for the last 3 years. Loafing and no laughing. I like him, but please write to me all about him if you know anything. He knows you. He came in the year of the Paris exhibition to Europe. I am now out of want. I am now out of want. Many of the handsomest houses in this city are open to me. All the time I am living as a guest of somebody or other. There is a curiosity in this nation, such as you meet with nowhere else. They want to know everything, and they are humans. They are almost advanced in the world. The average American woman is far more cultured and cultivated than the average American man. The man slaves all their life for money, and the woman snatches every opportunity to improve themselves. And they are very opportunity, and there is very opportunity to improve themselves, and they are very kind hearted frank people. Everybody who has a faith to preach comes here, and I am sorry to say that most of their these are not sounds. The Americans have their faults too, and what nation has not? But this is my Summing up, Asia laid the gems of civilization. Europe developed man, and America is developing the human and the masses. It is a paradise of women and laborers. Now contrast the American masses and women with ours, and you get the idea at once. The Americans are fast becoming liberal. Judge them for judge them not by the species of hard-shelled Christians. It is their own faith that you see in India. There are those here too, but their number is decreasing rapidly, and this great nation is progressing fast towards the spirituality, which is the standard boost of Hindu. The Hindu must not give up his religion, but must keep religion within its proper limits and give freedom to society to grow. All the reformers in India made the serious mistake of holding religion accountable for all the horrors of the priestcraft and degeneration, and went forthwith to pull down the indestructible structure. And what was the result? Failure. Beginning from Buddha down to the Mohan Roy. Beginning from Buddha down to Ram Mohan Roy. Everyone made the mistake of holding caste to be a religious institution and tried to pull down religion and caste altogether and failed. But in spite of all the raving of the priest, caste is simply a crystallized society institution social institution which all after doing its service is now filling the atmosphere of India with its stench, and it can only be removed by giving back to the people their lost social individuality. Every man born here knows that he is a man. Every man born in India knows that he is a slave of society. How now freedom is the only condition of growth. Take that off. The result is degeneration. With the introduction of the modern competition, see how the caste is disappearing fast. No religion is now necessary to kill it. The Brahmana, shopkeeper, shoemaker, and wine distiller are common in North India. And why? Because of competitions. No man is prohibited from doing anything he pleases for his life food under the present government, and the result is neck and neck competition, and thus thousands are seeking and finding the highest level they were born for instead of vegetating at the bottom. I must remain in this country at least through the winter and then go to Europe. The Lord will provide everything for me. You need not disturb yourself about it. I cannot express my gratitude for your love. Day by day, I am feeling that the Lord is with me and I am trying to follow His direction. He will be gone. He will be done. We will go do great things for the world, and that for the sake of doing good, and not for the name and the fame. Ask not to reason why, out, but to do and die. Be of good cheer and believe that we are selected by the Lord to do great things, and we will do them. Hold yourself in the readiness, that is, be pure and holy. Love for love's sake, love the poor, the miserable, the downtrodden, and love will bless you. See the Raja of Ramanad and others from time to time and urge them to sympathize with the masses of India. Tell them how they are standing on the neck of the poor and that they are not fit to be called men if they do not try to raise them up. Be fearless, the Lord is with you, and he will yet raise the starving and ignorant millions of India. A railway porter here is better educated than many of your young men and most of your princes. Every American woman has far better education than can be convinced conceived by the majority of Hindu women. Why cannot we have the same education we must? Think not that you are poor. Money is not power, but goodness and holiness. Come and see how it is so all over the world. Your blessing, Vivekanand. P.S. By the by, uncle, your uncle's paper was the most curious. P.S. By the by, your uncle's paper was most curious phenomena I ever saw. It was like a tradesman's category, and it was not thought fit to be read in the parliament. So Narasimhacharya read a few extracts from it in the side hall, and nobody understood a word of it. Do not tell him of it. It is great art to press the large amount of thoughts into a small number of words. Even Manilal Dwivedi's paper had to be cut very short. More than 1,000 papers were read, and there was no time to give to such wild peroration. I had a good long time given to me over the ordinary half hour because the most popular speakers were always put down last to hold the audience. And the Lord bless them. What sympathy they have, and what patience. They would sit for 10 from 10 in the morning till the 10 at the night, only to recess of half an hour for a meal and paper after paper read. Most of them were trifles, but they would wait and wait to hear their favorites. Dharmapala of Shion was one of the favorites, but unfortunately he was not a good speaker. He had only quotations from Max Muller and Riles Davids to give them. He is a very sweet man, and became very intimate during the parliament. A Christian lady from Pona, Miss Sorabji from Pune, Miss Sorabji, and the Jain representative Mr. Gandhi are going to remain longer in the country and make lecture tours. I hope they will succeed. Lecturing is a very profitable occupation in this country and sometimes pays well. Mr. Ingersoll gets $500 to $600 a lecture. He is the most celebrated lecturer in this country. Do not publish this letter. After reading, send it to the Maharaja of Khetri. I have sent him my photograph in America. Next, sixth one, Mr. George W. Hale, Esq. 541 Dearborn Avenue, Chicago, 28th December 1893. Dear Haripada, Dear Haripada, it is very strange that the news of my Chicago lecture has appeared in the Indian papers. For whatever I do, I try my best to avoid publicity. Many times strikes me here. It may be fairly said that there is no poverty in this country. I have never seen a woman elsewhere as cultured and educated as they are here. Well educated men there are in our country, but you will scarcely find anything anywhere women like those here. It is indeed true that the goddess here gives in the house of virtuous man as Lakshmi. I have seen thousands of women here whose hearts are as pure and stainless as snow. Oh, how free they are! It is they who control the social and civic duties. Schools and colleges are full of women, and in our country, women cannot be safely allowed to walk in the street. Their kindness to me is immeasurable since I came here. I have been welcomed by them to their houses. They are providing me with food, arranging for my lectures, taking me to market, and doing everything for my comfort and convenience. I shall never be able to repay in the least the deep depth of gratitude I owe to them. Do you know who is the real Shakti worship? Do you know who is the real Shakti worshippers? It is he who knows the God is the omnipresent force in the universe and sees the woman the manifestation of that force. Many men here look upon their woman in this light. Manu again has said that God blesses those families where women are happy and well treated. Here, men treat their women as well as can be desired, and hence they are so prosperous, so learned, so free, and so energetic. But why is it that we are slavish, miserable, and dead? The answer is obvious.